The great hall of the Galactic Council floated above a blue gas planet, shining like a crystal in the dark. Inside, hundreds of alien leaders sat in silence. Today, they would decide the fate of one world, Earth. At the center stood Ambassador Lyra, a tall alien with silver eyes and soft white skin. She looked nervous as she watched the other council members whisper. Around her, lights flickered, showing holograms of human wars, tanks, bombs, burning cities. A deep voice broke the silence. "Humans are too dangerous," said Senator Core, his red scales glowing under the light. "They fight their own kind. They destroy their planet. Imagine what they will do to the galaxy." Many others nodded. Voices rose in anger and fear. "They are violent. They are unstable. They must be stopped before they spread." Lyra raised her hand. "Please," she said calmly. "Yes, humans have fought wars, but they also create music, art, and love. They explore. They dream. They learn from their mistakes." The room laughed. A creature with 4 eyes hissed. "Dreams? They build weapons faster than they build peace." For a moment, Lyra felt small, but she looked toward the far side of the hall, where a single human stood. It was General Rian Holt, Earth's representative. He wore a black uniform with a small silver badge, the symbol of Earth Alliance. His face was calm, but his eyes showed deep exhaustion, as if he had seen too much pain. Rian stepped forward. His voice was quiet, but every word carried weight. "You call us violent," he said. "But we were never born in peace like you. We had to fight to survive, against hunger, disease, and even our own mistakes. You live in comfort. We live in struggle. But struggle made us strong." The room fell silent. Even the light seemed dimmer. Rian looked at them all. "You say we are dangerous. Maybe we are, but remember, it was your ships that came to our world first. You studied us. You armed us. You used us. And now you fear what you created." No one spoke. The alien leaders looked at each other, uncomfortable. Lyra felt her heart tighten. She could see the truth in his words, but she also knew the council would never admit it. Finally, the head chancellor rose. His voice was cold and final. "The vote is complete," he said. "The humans of Earth are banned from all council systems. Their world is to remain isolated, no trade, no travel, no contact." A red light filled the room, the sign of a closed world. Rian's face didn't change. He gave a small nod, turned, and walked out of the chamber. No anger, no protest, just silence. Lyra watched him leave. Something about his calmness scared her more than any weapon. That night, as stars glittered outside the massive station, Lyra sat alone in her quarters. A soft sound came from her console. A message, encrypted, human code. She hesitated, then opened it. The message was short. "You were the only one who listened. But now, silence will speak for us. Watch the skies." Her hand shook. "What does that mean?" she whispered. Outside her window, the stars looked peaceful, but deep inside her heart, she felt an unknown fear. The next morning, every human satellite around Earth went dark. Communication stopped. The planet's signal vanished. Alien scientists called it a technical error. The council said it was nothing. But Lyra knew better. Something had changed on Earth. Something quiet. Something waiting. And somewhere far below the clouds of that blue planet, humanity had just begun to prepare. 3 days had passed since the Galactic Council banned Earth. Across the stars, the news spread fast. Humans were officially cut off. No contact, no trade, no help. To most alien species, it was a relief. To others, a warning. But to Ambassador Lyra, it felt like the calm before something terrible. She sat in her quarters, watching a hologram of Earth spinning slowly in the air. Blue oceans. White clouds. Beautiful, yet silent. No new signals had come from the planet. No data, no messages, not even random radio noise. It was as if the entire human world had gone dark. Lyra couldn't sleep. She kept replaying the message she received. You were the only one who listened, but now silence will speak for us. Watch the skies. What did they mean? What were they planning? In the council's grand meeting hall, the members laughed at her worries. Senator Core spoke loudly. They are finished. Isolated worlds always fall. Their silence means surrender. But the council's military advisors looked uneasy. Sir, one said quietly, our probes near Earth stopped transmitting. Every drone just vanished. The Chancellor waved a hand. Probably destroyed by their own atmosphere. Primitive technology. Lyra frowned. No, Counselor. Humans don't destroy without reason. If their satellites are gone, they made that choice. Core smirked. Maybe they're hiding in fear. But deep inside, Lyra knew fear wasn't the reason. It was preparation. Far away, in the dark space around Earth, something was moving. The alien probes had caught glimpses before disappearing. Flashes of metal, strange heat signatures, massive construction beneath the oceans. No one knew what the humans were building. No one wanted to find out. But somewhere deep underground, beneath the North Atlantic, Commander Rian Holt stood before a massive holographic map of the stars. He looked older now, his eyes colder. Around him, scientists and officers worked silently. The air was heavy with purpose. Status? He asked. A young officer replied. All orbital systems shut down, sir. No signal leaves Earth now. We're invisible. Rian nodded. Good. And the fleet? Phase 1 complete. 120 ships built, cloaking active. Phase 2 begins in 6 days. Rian stared at the glowing star map. Each red dot marked a planet that had voted against humanity. He whispered, they wanted us silent. We'll give them silence, until it's too late. Back at the council, rumors began to spread. Traders whispered of shadows moving in deep space. Colonies near human borders reported unknown signals, fast, sharp, and silent. Still, the council ignored them. Humans can't build star fleets, Core laughed during a broadcast. They can barely manage their own planet. But one night during a live meeting, a sudden alarm echoed through the council hall. The lights flickered, the holograms changed. A message appeared, a warning from the Andurian border system. Unknown fleet detected. Origin, Earth. The chamber exploded in noise. Impossible. Their engines can't reach that far. This must be a trick. Lyra's heart raced. She stood and shouted, I told you. They were preparing. You didn't listen. The Chancellor looked pale. Send a fleet. Find out what's happening. As the order went out, Lyra turned toward the great viewing window. Beyond the stars, faint light streaks moved across the dark, faster than any known ship. Her hands trembled. No, she whispered. They're not hiding. They're coming. The silence was over. The storm had begun. The galaxy slept in false peace. No one truly believed that humans could fight back until the first attack came. It began on the edge of the Andurian system, near a quiet mining moon called Terrace 4. At first, the workers thought it was a meteor storm. Bright streaks of light cut across the black sky, fast, silent, and cold. Then the alarm screamed. Unidentified ships incoming. Shields failing. They're too fast. Before anyone could react, blue fire fell from the heavens. The sky turned white as explosions tore across the moon's surface. In less than 10 minutes, the entire Andurian base was gone. The Galactic Council watched the footage in shock. Dozens of ships, human ships, had entered the system, attacked, and vanished without a trace. How? Shouted Senator Core, his scales turning pale. They have no jump technology, no fleet that size. But Lyra knew. She had seen the silence coming. They built it in secret, she said quietly. They waited for this. The council hall filled with noise. Send reinforcements. Activate defense grids. Find their base. But no one knew where to look. On the other side of the galaxy, Commander Rian Holt stood aboard the human flagship Valkyrian. From the large window before him, the stars looked calm, unaware of the chaos beginning to spread. His crew worked in silence. No cheers, no celebration. Only purpose. An officer turned toward him. "Sir, Andurian base neutralized. No survivors." Rian gave a slow nod. "Then we moved to Target 2. Another officer hesitated. "Sir, what if the Council surrenders? Do we stop?" Ryan's eyes stayed cold. "They didn't listen when we spoke. Now they will listen when we strike." The human fleet split into 4 groups. Each one moved in total silence. No communication, no light. Their new engines left no trace, powered by technology once shared by the Council, now turned against them. Within days, 3 more alien outposts were gone. Entire defense fleets were destroyed before they could even respond. Every attack was precise. Every strike hit only military targets. And every time, the attackers disappeared before anyone could chase them. The galaxy began to panic. News channels broadcast non-stop. Human fleets spotted near the Veyron border. 3 systems offline. Council worlds under attack. For the first time in centuries, the mighty Council felt fear. Senator Kor slammed his claws on the table. "They are animals. We must destroy them before they destroy us." But Lyra shouted back, "No, you pushed them into this. You treated them like beasts and now they fight like one." The Chancellor stared at the screens, burning colonies, broken fleets, thousands fleeing to safer systems. He whispered, "What have we done?" Back on the Valkyrian, the stars glowed red from distant fires. Commander Rian stood alone in his chamber, staring at a small photo on his table, a picture of Earth before the ban, full of light and hope. He whispered softly, "We didn't want this war, but you gave us no choice." Outside, the human fleet turned toward the next system. Engines roared to life, quiet, steady, unstoppable. Far away in the council hall, alarms sounded again. Another transmission came through. Short, clear human voice. "We asked for peace. You gave us judgment. Now you will see what judgment feels like." The message ended. The stars fell silent again, but every world knew humanity had just begun. The forest smelled of smoke and fear. Evan stood in the middle of the clearing, shaking. His hands were bleeding, his arm was torn, and his breath came in short gasps. The glowing blue light around him slowly faded, leaving only the darkness and the soft hum of the alien girl's weak energy. The beast stepped back, confused. Its red eyes blinked as it tried to understand what had happened. The strange blue light had burned its skin, leaving black marks on its chest. It growled, low and angry, shaking its head. Evan turned to look at the alien girl. She was lying on the ground again, her hand still glowing faintly. She looked weak. Too weak. Her voice came out in a whisper. "I can't do it again." He knelt beside her. "Hey, you did great," he said softly, trying to smile. "Just stay here. I'll handle it." She looked at him with disbelief. "You'll die," she said. Evan laughed weakly. "Maybe, but I can't let it hurt you." The beast growled louder. Its claws dug into the ground as it crouched, ready to charge again. The ground shook with its weight. Evan stood up slowly. His legs felt like they could give out at any second, but he forced himself to stay upright. He picked up the broken stick again, even though his fingers were slipping with blood. He looked small compared to the beast, just a human boy standing against a nightmare. But in his eyes there was no fear anymore, only courage. The creature roared and lunged forward. Evan shouted too. Not in fear, but in defiance. He ran straight toward it. The beast's claw slashed across his side, cutting deep, but Evan didn't stop. He stabbed the sharp wood into the creature's neck. The stick broke again, but it made the monster stumble back. Evan fell to his knees, coughing, clutching his side. Blood dripped from his wound, but he forced himself up again. The beast turned, furious, and swung its tail. It hit him hard, throwing him into a fallen tree. The air left his lungs, and for a second everything went black. He could hear the alien girl screaming his name, her voice full of fear. Evan opened his eyes, barely able to see. The world spun around him. The beast was coming again, step by step, its shadow covering him. He tried to move, but couldn't. His body refused to respond. His arm trembled as he reached for the ground, finding a small piece of sharp rock. That was all he had left. He looked at the alien girl, her eyes glowing with tears, her hands weakly trying to summon more energy. She looked so helpless, so scared. Something inside Evan burned brighter than pain. A voice in his heart said, "You can't stop now." He forced himself up once more. His body screamed in pain, but he ignored it. He took one shaky step forward, then another. The beast roared again, lifting its head high, its mouth opened wide, glowing red inside, ready to burn him alive. Evan didn't run. He stood right in front of it, holding the rock in his hand, his knees shaking. He whispered softly, "If someone has to fall, it won't be her." The beast lunged, but before its claws hit him, a blue flash exploded again. The alien girl had gathered the last of her strength. Her body glowed, light shooting from her chest toward the beast. The energy hit it like lightning. The forest filled with bright blue light. The beast screamed in pain, thrashing and crashing into the trees. Evan fell again, eyes half closed. The girl crawled toward him, dragging herself through the mud. She reached him, placing her glowing hand on his chest. "Don't die," she whispered. A warm energy spread through his body. Not enough to heal him, but enough to keep his heart beating. The beast stumbled backward, roaring in agony. Half of its face was burned by the alien energy. It glared at them both, growled one last time, and disappeared into the shadows of the forest. Evan lay still, gasping for air. His vision blurred, but he could see the alien girl's faint smile. "You're not weak," she whispered. "Humans are strong." Evan gave a tired smile, eyes closing. "Told you, I'm not running." The forest went quiet again. Only the wind moved through the trees. The boy had fought a monster, and won not with power but with courage. The air was still heavy with smoke when the sound came, a deep, low hum like thunder rolling across the forest. The alien girl looked up. Her silver eyes widened in fear and relief at the same time. "They're here," she whispered. From between the trees, lights appeared. Not the wild glow of the beast, but the calm, sharp beams of alien technology. Shadows moved within the light. Silhouettes. Tall, armored figures carrying strange, glowing weapons. Evan lay still on the ground, half-conscious. His chest rose and fell weakly. The alien girl crawled closer to him, trying to shield him with her body. Her strength was almost gone, but she wouldn't let them hurt him. Moments later, the soldiers appeared. Alien warriors in silver armor, helmets shining like mirrors. They surrounded the clearing quickly, pointing their weapons at the boy and the girl. "Hold your fire," a sharp, commanding voice said. From behind them stepped a tall woman. Her presence alone made the soldiers lower their weapons. Her armor was black and gold, covered in strange, glowing marks. Her eyes were deep violet, colder than the night itself. She was the chief. The girl bowed her head weakly. "Chief Lyra." The chief looked around the clearing. The fallen trees, the burned ground, and the huge dead beast lying in the mud. Her eyes narrowed. "What happened here?" One of the soldiers stepped forward. "We tracked the beast. It seems this human killed it." He pointed at Evan, lying motionless. The chief walked closer, her footsteps slow and heavy. She stopped beside the boy and looked down at him. Blood covered his face, and his hands were still gripping the alien shard, now dim and cold. Her voice was calm, but sharp. "A human? Alone? Impossible." The girl coughed weakly. "It's true, Chief. He saved me. He fought the beast when I couldn't." The soldiers whispered to each other. Some looked at the boy with surprise, others with disgust. The chief's face didn't change. "You expect me to believe this weak creature defeated a Zarn beast?" The alien girl forced herself to sit up. "He did. He bled for me. He fought even when he was dying." The chief's eyes slowly moved from the girl to the beast's corpse. She walked closer to it, kneeling beside the giant monster. Her hand touched the black scales. Still hot, she stood again, looking thoughtful. The wounds are real. The weapon that killed it was one of ours. Her gaze turned back to Evan. How could a human use alien tech? She muttered to herself. The girl's voice was soft but strong. Because he didn't care what it was. He only cared about saving me. The chief looked down at the girl, her soldier, her kin, then at the human boy. For the first time, her cold expression softened. She said quietly, "He protected you, even knowing who you are?" "Yes," the girl whispered. "He thought I was worth saving." The chief stood silent for a long time. The wind moved through the broken trees, carrying the smell of rain. Finally, she said, "Take him to the ship." The soldiers hesitated. "Chief, he's human. Our law—" Her sharp voice cut through the air. "He's a warrior, and he will not die here." The soldiers obeyed without another word. Two of them lifted Evan carefully. His head fell to the side, his eyes half open. He whispered something, but no one understood. As they carried him away, the chief turned to the alien girl. "You're injured. You'll come too. We'll speak when you can stand." The girl nodded weakly, glancing back at Evan. Her expression was full of worry and gratitude. As the group moved through the trees, the chief looked once more at the dead beast. Her eyes narrowed again. "A human boy," she whispered to herself. "What kind of creature are you?" The forest grew quiet behind them. The battle was over, but something new had begun. Something far greater than any fight. The stars burned red above the galactic core. Every sensor, every satellite, every fleet watched one direction, toward the incoming human armada. The once mighty council had gathered its last defenders. Thousands of alien ships waited in formation, their lights glowing like a wall of color across the void. But even from a distance, everyone could feel it. Fear. The silence before the final storm. Inside the council command base, the atmosphere was chaos. Officers shouted orders. The chancellor stood before the great hollow map, his voice shaking. "Hold your positions. The humans must not reach the capital." Beside him, Ambassador Lyra watched the map quietly. She knew what was coming. She had warned them, begged them to make peace. Now it was too late. Her heart ached. Somewhere out there on one of those human ships was the man who once spoke softly in that same hall. Commander Rian Holt. In deep space, aboard the human flagship Valkyrian, Rian stared at the council world ahead. A shining orb surrounded by fleets and defense grids. An officer approached. "Sir, enemy lines confirmed. Heavy resistance expected." Rian nodded slowly. "They'll fight hard, but this ends today." He placed a small metallic disc on the table, an old badge from his days as a peace envoy, back before the council's ban. He looked at it one last time, then whispered, "You wanted silence. Now you'll hear it." The battle began. Thousands of ships lit the darkness. Missiles, plasma beams, and energy bursts turned the black of space into burning daylight. Human ships moved with deadly precision. They weaved between fire, broke through lines, and vanished only to strike again from the shadows. The alien fleets fought bravely, but they were scattered and confused. They had numbers, but the humans had something greater. Unity. Within hours, the outer defenses were gone. The council world was now exposed. "Evacuate the Chancellor," a voice screamed inside the base. "They're breaking through." Lyra ran through smoke-filled corridors trying to reach the landing bay. Explosions rocked the station. Metal walls bent and cracked. Suddenly, the floor collapsed beneath her. She fell hard, but survived. Through the shattered window above, she saw the impossible. Human dropships entering the planet's atmosphere. They were coming for the council itself. Minutes later, Lyra found herself surrounded by armed soldiers, human soldiers. Their armor was dark, their visors glowing blue. One of them stepped forward and removed his helmet. It was Rian Holt. For a moment, neither spoke. The sound of battle echoed outside, thunder, fire, and screams. Lyra finally whispered. You did it. The council is falling. Rian looked tired, not victorious. It had to, he said. They left us no choice. You could stop this now, she pleaded. The galaxy will listen to you. They fear you. But they could also follow you. He shook his head slowly. Fear changes faster than loyalty. I don't want followers. I want them to remember. Lyra stepped closer, tears in her eyes. If you destroy everything, there will be nothing left to remember. Rian looked at her for a long moment, then turned toward his soldiers. Cease fire, he ordered. The soldiers hesitated but obeyed. The gunfire outside began to fade. Lyra stared at him in disbelief. You stopped the attack? Rian nodded. No one wins if everything burns. Hours later, the smoke cleared above the council world. The once glorious city lay in ruins, but the war was over. Rian walked through the silent halls of the council chamber, the same place where humanity had once been judged. He touched the broken marble table and said quietly, You wanted to silence us, but now you will finally hear us. Behind him, Lyra stood silently, watching the man who had changed the galaxy. In that moment, she realized he wasn't a monster, he was human, and that, she knew, was far more powerful than any weapon. The war was over. The great fleets were silent. The sky above the council world was filled with drifting wreckage, broken ships from every species, floating like ghosts of a battle that had changed the galaxy forever. For the first time in centuries, there was no sound of war, only quiet. And in that quiet, humanity stood alone, victorious, but not proud. On the surface, smoke still rose from the fallen cities. Human soldiers moved through the ruins, not as conquerors, but as rescuers. They pulled alien civilians from the debris, carried the wounded, and offered food and medicine. The aliens stared in confusion. These were the same beings they had called monsters, the same species they had feared for so long. But now those monsters were saving lives. Inside the half-destroyed council hall, Ambassador Lyra walked beside Commander Rian Holt. The massive chamber was dark and broken, its walls cracked, its great table shattered in two. This was the place where Earth had been judged, and now it was the place where everything began again. Rian stopped and looked around. This is where it started, he said quietly. Lyra nodded. And maybe this is where it can end. He looked at her, his eyes heavy with exhaustion. We didn't want this war, Lyra. We only wanted a voice. And now, she said softly, you have one. Outside, a small crowd of alien survivors gathered near the ruins. They watched as Rian stepped onto a piece of broken stone, his voice echoing through the open air. The war is over, he said. No more blood. No more revenge. The crowd stayed silent, listening. We will not rule this galaxy. We will rebuild it. Together. No one will be judged by fear again. Lyra watched as Rian raised the flag of the United Systems, a simple white cloth marked with a circle and a star, the new symbol of unity. One by one, the aliens began to bow their heads, not in surrender, but in respect. Weeks passed. The stars that once burned with war slowly became bright again. Human engineers and alien builders worked side by side, rebuilding cities, repairing stations, and sending aid to the worlds that had suffered most. A new council was formed, not the old one of pride and control, but one built on understanding. And at its center sat two figures, Rian Holt and Lyra of the Valari. Together, they guided a galaxy learning to live without fear. One evening, Rian stood on a balcony overlooking the new capital. The sky was calm, filled with soft lights from repair ships. Lyra joined him, holding a small device, the same message he had sent her long ago. She smiled faintly. You told me to watch the skies. He smiled back.